it's already been a full month since I did my last budget update, and this past month has gone by so fast. I feel like whenever it comes to this type of year, like basically right when Dennis's birthday hits on September 1st, he starts claiming that winter's here, like not in a happy way. He's not a big fan of winter. So all of a sudden it feels like the fall just comes in super fast and the year's just ending off all of a sudden. So today I'm getting kind of in the fall spirit, got my darker fall clothes and colors on. I already got my coffee ready over at the desk. So after you guys give this video a big like down below before we get started, we're gonna head over to the iMac and get started at looking at my August budget. Okay, so last month I talked about how I definitely went a little bit over budget, and a big reason for that was just food costs in general. Like I went over my grocery budget by a lot, went over my restaurants and eating out budget by a lot. And the one thing that I did do well is starting to make more meals at home, because I already knew for a few months now that I was spending way too much on food. But if I'm going to be having us increase our grocery costs because I'm spending more money on ingredients to make like these fun new meals at home, then I definitely don't have any excuse to keep my restaurant budget up so high too. So that's kind of what happened last month. My goal is to fix that for this month. So let's take a look at what my August spending did look like and how well I did in the food spending categories in general. So let's take a look at this. So for my August budget, my salary is the same as usual, the standard $2,036 a month that we get paid to ourselves. I still invested my $1,000 into my Wealthsimple Invest account. Now that doesn't come out of my salary. I don't know if we made that super clear in our last video, but that comes out of the savings account that I'm slowly investing $1,000 a month from there. So not out of my salary, but still did my $1,000 of investing. After that, we have some of the standard costs, right? So rent, always $925 for me. That's my half of the rent. Same with internet and utilities. My half is about $31, $32 a month. Internet's obviously standard and utilities fluctuate slightly, but it's around that $30 mark. And then we get into the food costs from there. So you'll see that my grocery expenses is significantly better than last month. I almost brought it down to my goal of $300 a month for groceries specifically. It's at about $328 for August. I think it was at like $450 the month before. So a pretty good job cutting back on that. There was a few reasons for it, I think. One is sticking to specifically what's on our list. And when I've been cooking more meals at home, it's based on the ingredients we already buy and stuff like that, as opposed to adding all these extra things on. I think that helped. Also in August, we did our $100 grocery spending challenge. We did a YouTube video on that, so if you haven't seen it, we'll make sure we link it for you guys too. Go and check it out. It was definitely an interesting experience. But because of that, we spent $130 only on groceries one week instead of our typical $200. So that really did a big cut down and getting closer to our budget. But that was only 1 week of the month. So we'll see if we can keep it even lower than that for September. But that was pretty good. What I didn't do as well on was restaurants still. So I think I spent like $10 less than last month, something like that. Definitely not a significant cutback. That's like basically the difference of one cheaper meal eating out than something else. So not great. One reason for this though is that we did film my July reflection on my budget halfway through August. So I'd already done some Uber Eating and spending on food for those first 2 weeks of the month, and I only really had 2 weeks to purposely cut back, and I still did not do a good enough job during those 2 weeks of sticking to my goal. So this month is the month that I'm officially going to be really focused on that category specifically. Deleted my Uber Eats and my DoorDash apps again. Sometimes I still re-download those, so it's got to be a bit of a mental challenge too, but that's a big thing for this month. Now, coffee shops, I did cut back a little bit as well. I think I went from $80 or $90 to $60, which is getting close to my budget. So overall, big improvement on the food costs, but still a long ways to go as well to hit my actual goals that I want to spend on food. So September's the month. I have the whole month to actually focus on that goal. So we'll see myself sticking to it next month, but a little bit of improvement. I'll at least take that for now. For the rest of my expenses, nothing on transportation this month. Prescription and massage therapist is always the same standard cost every month, so still had those on there. No dentist appointment. Phone bills also standard. I know I haven't brought that down yet. I know that's the one thing that everyone sticks to because I totally get it. It's too high. Sometime soon, maybe in like the next monthly budget video like this, maybe we'll bring that cost down together. I think that would be a good thing to make me actually stick to doing it. But that's there for now. Now, personal care is high this month, definitely higher than before. A big reason is my haircut that you guys saw in the last video. That was about $164 all in to get my haircut, eyebrows, tipping, all of that. The rest was at Shoppers, so like toiletries, face masks, toilet paper, whatever, stuff like that we needed. So that's definitely a little bit high as well, but a big portion of that was my haircut. The gifts category I talked about with you guys in the last video as well. That was specifically on our anniversary dinner. That was like a leftover Christmas present I was going to bring us to this one restaurant to eat at, Den and I. So that was, obviously it brings me up higher in this month's budget, but it was something that was planned from the past. So little bit expected and just brought forward from like 6 months ago, 8 months ago maybe. It's been a long time since Christmas. After that, nothing on clothing, nothing on entertainment and books. And you'll notice my subscription cost is a little bit higher this month because I have my Spotify, which is the same every month. And I also re-subscribed to Crave for the next few months because we're watching House of the Dragon. Yeah, definitely a little bit high. It's like over $20 a month, but I wanted to watch it. So subscribe to that too. Brought up my subscription cost a little bit. So overall, you'll see the total is actually a little bit higher than last month, even though I feel like I did a lot better in a lot of categories. But those two big expenses that I talked about before, which was our anniversary dinner and my haircut, that's the whole problem with going over budget at all in the other categories, is that if I have a month with planned higher expenses, it just brings me even higher than the total that I wanted to hit. So this next month, I don't think I have any big expenses like that planned. So I'm really hoping that I can come in strong on my goal. Now, going through all of this for this past month actually reminds me of a comment that we got on my last budget video, specifically about how I get paid a salary of exactly $2,000.36. Basically, the comment was about how it can be really hard to budget when you have a varying income that's really inconsistent. Maybe it's coming from multiple places, and basically just the amount of money you make is different every single month. We also got a suggestion on our Instagram recently too. Sometimes we ask for YouTube video suggestions on there, so if you're not following us there, go check it out. But someone also mentioned that they wanted to hear more about how we budget when we have these varying inconsistent incomes. Now, this really got me thinking about it because I see other people's videos on YouTube sometimes where they talk about what they spent or their budgets, and multiple people also have inconsistent incomes as well, because obviously if they're posting on YouTube, even if it's just their side hustle part-time job, they still make some income from multiple places. And what I see people saying is one of two things a lot of the time. Either they're saving really inconsistently, which isn't ideal, but what's even worse than that is if they're actually spending too much compared to what they're making. So maybe they, again, don't know how much money they have coming in every single month because it's always going to be different. You never know exactly when you're going to be getting paid, but they still spend a decent amount of money on themselves, which sometimes means that they spent more when they made that month and they weren't expecting it, and there's all these stresses and just uncertainty that comes with that too. And that's exactly why I really like the way that we have it set up, where we do pay ourselves out that set specific exact same salary every single month. So even though we might be making a different amount of money, we're giving ourselves personally the exact same amount. And what's great about that is it's enough to cover all of our basic expenses plus a few $100 extra to kind of play around with for wants on top of that. And it also means that we know that there's enough money still in the business for all of our recurring business expenses. Like we have our video editor, we have a graphic designer that we pay. We also might need to buy new equipment or just a one-off back-end business expense too, right? We want to make sure that we have that money in there. So basically we know that all of our personal expenses that are necessary are covered every single month, and all of our business expenses. Now that also means that all of the leftover money that's not going to our expenses or our business expenses is all automatically savings. So we're really covering all of our bases there because we'll be able to pay that out to ourselves and invest it in some sort of way in the future. Now right now, you guys all know that our focus is really on increasing our income so we can also pay ourselves out more for that set exact salary amount every month so that we can really increase our personal investing and savings rate right now, but more on that to come later this year. Okay, so now onto my September budget. I wanted to do something a little bit different this time, which is actually make set budget categories and goals for this month. I think one of the problems that I've been having is that in my mind, I feel like I already know what all my goals are. Like I try and have the same standard set budget categories every single month. But it obviously hasn't been working for me pretty much this whole year, actually sticking within those specific goals and categories. So I kind of wanted to revisit it, take a look at it, maybe adjust if I need to for this month to make it a little more realistic so that I can actually fit within my goals. So if that means going a little higher in certain categories, but at least bring it down from where I'm at now, that's what I want to do. So if we look over here, this is kind of my September goal categories. So obviously my salary is pretty much the same. One thing that's a little different is the other category has about $1,000 in it. One of our affiliate links that we have is my Neo cashback reward card. So I'm planning on cashing out my cashback this month and also some of the reward bonuses we get from you guys signing up. So that's going to add a little bit extra income for the month for me too, but I'm not including that as my budget. That's just going to be another $1,000 in my savings or investments, but wanted to throw that on there. Otherwise, still planning on investing $1,000. And now onto the good stuff, which is the expenses. So rent, internet, and utilities, pretty easy. I just went a little bit above budget for what utilities typically is, just in case, because I'd rather go over than under for that. Groceries, I still want to hit that $300. That's the goal that we've set. Got really close to it last month, so I definitely think it's a possibility. We'll see. It might be a little bit over $300, but I'd rather make it that set realistic goal still for myself that I know we're getting close to. Restaurants is going to be the big one. I originally only planned on spending, I think, $100 max on restaurants maybe even less. I'd have to look at what my original at the beginning of the year goals were. But obviously I've been going way over that every single month. So if I could at least bring it down to 125, I'd be happy. So that's one of the categories I've adjusted for this month. Higher than my typical goal, but more realistic, at least for myself, hopefully, to make myself stick to that. And then it also kind of builds my confidence up because I kind of feel like once I go over a budget every single month, a specific category, I'm like, well, I'm already over it. Start again next month, which isn't good. So I'm hoping that if it's a little more realistic, but still something that I feel confident about hitting, that it'll motivate me to go even lower in the next month. So that's the goal for restaurants. Coffee shops, sticking with my typical 50. I was pretty close to it last month, so hopefully I can get right on that $50 this month for that. And that would bring my food down significantly. What is that? Like just under $500 from $590 this past month. So it would bring it down pretty significantly, and I'd be really happy about that. So that's the biggest one. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much standard except personal care. I want to keep it at 150. That's higher than my original budget at the beginning of the year. I only had like $50 budgeted for personal care, but I've been consistently going over that, and it's been in like the 200s every single month. So if I bring it down to 150, I think I'd be happy with that for the month, and then we can kind of revisit from there. Gifts, donations, I have $50 in there to keep it simple. Dennis's birthday was this month too, so that's kind of covering that. And then subscriptions, again, to capture the Crave, because we're still going to be paying for that. I'm still going to be paying for that this month. And Spotify, that's on there too. The other thing that I did is create these columns so I can see where I'm currently at, since we're already about a week and a half, I think. A week and a half into the month. So we can see that I'm on track for, I think, everything. Groceries, we spent a little bit more than I'd want to spend per week each for our first grocery trip of the month. The goal is $75 each. It was about $85, so a little bit more. Restaurants is already getting pretty high, so I'm gonna have to really cut myself off and not do too much eating out. But like I said, I deleted my Uber Eats and my DoorDash apps, so hopefully that helps. Coffee shops, I was at 25 for the month so far already. And I think everything else is pretty standard. Personal care is already kind of high because I went to Shoppers at the very beginning of the month, I think twice already. So I'm gonna really try and keep myself cut off there too. Nothing I think I need for the rest of the month specific to me. And otherwise, we're in pretty good shape. So what we'll do at the beginning of the next video is actually revisit this and see where my actuals end up and how much I actually spent, but fingers crossed that I can get it done. All right, so that's where I'm at with my spending and what my budget's looking like for this past month. I'm really excited for this next month to really get back on track. I have an action plan now to actually change up my habits and not just say I'm gonna do it. So I'm really excited to see how all that's gonna go. If there's anything else you guys wanna see in my next video like this, make sure you let us know in the comments below. I'm also working on getting Den ready to do one of these on his own. We got some requests for that in my last video, so don't worry, he's gonna do one soon. He's really good at not spending a lot of money, so sometimes we feel like maybe it'll be a little more like boring and less rambly, but I think it would be a really good example of how to keep your spending in check, how to be disciplined. Also, we had a pretty interesting, crazy, random expense recently that we talked about in another video that you've probably already seen. So anyway, he'll be having one soon too. I'll be back next one with another one as well. If you haven't already liked this video, please give it a big like down below. Subscribe if somehow you haven't already. Make sure you check out all of our past money, budgeting, other money videos that we've done on ourselves recently next door. And like I said, we'll be back soon with more.